Good morning on a Friday with Morning Coffee with Marcaida. Sorry if the internet's not working. You might have a very choppy version of this particular episode. I had to redo it and hopefully I can fix it. Anyways, so the idea that I wanted to talk about was on this Friday's thought is a path to recovery and some of the things that I've learned to be able to do that. So when I was a respiratory therapist and we had patients who would come in with an asthma attack that was related to allergies, anaphylaxis, or anything like that, that they didn't know what triggered it, and the key word is triggers, is that I would recommend that they keep a notebook, a diary. Create a diary and just write down what you ate, write down what were you exposed to. Don't think about anything else, but simply just write down things so that later on, not today, months and months later on, you can collect all this data, all these things, and start finding out what were the common things that were happening that you can start to find out were the triggers of that particular event that caused you to have some asthma attacks or allergies. Now, the same thing can also be said in the path of what are your triggers that triggers your emotion. What causes you to think about or get you down, or what causes you to get angry or anxious? And just keep a diary of that event. You know, today I was just feeling this way, and I started thinking about that one thing that got me angry again about something in the past. Now, we've been talking about all these things that are holding us back, these anchors. Now that we've identified that there are anchors that prevent us from moving forward, let's also now start to think about how to deal with these anchors that get us into that mode. What weighs me down? And a lot of it could be a music, could be a memory, could be when I drink, I always start to think this way. So there's alcohol involved. When I go to a certain place, I start to identify that place with this particular event that's an anchor again. Or when I start looking at a particular thing that was given to me, I start getting angry because I think of that person or that event that was given to me, and it starts to trigger an emotion. So by writing this down on a diary, you start to look at all these commonalities of things that trigger, because identifying what causes an issue is the first thing and the first way to go to the path of healing. Because when you identify that, at least you know what these triggers are. And you can look at the triggers and say, hey, I can start to find a way to fix it, because now I've identified what's causing these issues. You could start by saying, if I listen to that particular song, it gets me going a certain way. Good. Now that you've identified that song, there are two things. You can either avoid it. Does that really fix anything when you have to avoid something you like? Or you can assign new meaning to that one thing that's causing these issues. Just like if you're allergic to something, let's say I'm allergic to cats. Now I'll have to avoid cats, right? But at the same time, you can also learn that it's a dander of the cat and learn to identify that. So now you don't have to be exposed to this or find ways to get through it. Like we said, you can take antihistamines for that, right? So in the memory of that causing you, by assigning new meaning, you're also kind of creating a new path so that every time I listen to it, I don't get upset anymore, because you've identified that and created and changed these things. And that's a thought today that it may work for some people. Once you identify the problem, first of all, is finding how to identify the problem. And one of that is paying attention to the situation and what got you there in the first place every time. Because I know some people, they always fall into a rut. They always fall and goes, well, why are you depressed again today? I don't know, and then you write it down. It was a gloomy day. It was a rainy day. Oh, rainy days and Mondays get me down, right? So now you always identify that so that when that day comes, you can find a way to start working that and making it work for you. Assign new meaning to these situations so it'll work and make it easier for you. Thought for today on a Friday. Enjoy my coffee. Good espresso, always hard, hits you hard, wakes me up for the day. Enjoy your week, guys, or enjoy your weekend. Be safe all. God bless.